Have you ever noticed that the smartest person in the room is often the one who walks away defeated, not because they were wrong, but because they were fighting a battle that was rigged from the start? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Intelligence is your greatest weapon in a fair fight, but arguments with foolish people are never fair fights. You've been there. You bring facts, logic, carefully constructed reasoning. You cite sources. You build your case like an architect builds a cathedral, and then someone dismantles it all with a single sentence that makes absolutely no sense. And somehow, to everyone watching, it looks like they won. You stand there, bewildered, holding the blueprints to a masterpiece no one cares to see. This isn't about being right or wrong anymore. This is about something far more disturbing happening beneath the surface of human interaction. See, intelligent people operate under a dangerous assumption. They believe that truth has inherent power, that if you present reality clearly enough, logically enough, compassionately enough, people will see it. They think arguments are about reaching understanding, but here's what they miss. For some people, arguments were never about understanding. They're about winning, and when winning is the only goal, there are no rules. You're playing chess while they're flipping the board. The Greek philosopher Socrates understood this 25 centuries ago. He spent his life pursuing truth through dialogue, believing that through careful questioning, anyone could be led to wisdom. And how did that end? They gave him poison. Because truth threatens those who profit from confusion. Intelligence threatens those who thrive in chaos. When you're dealing with someone who isn't interested in being right, only in appearing right, you're not in a debate. You're in a performance, and they've been rehearsing their whole lives. Think about the psychology here. Smart people are trained to doubt themselves. Education teaches you to question your assumptions, consider alternative perspectives, acknowledge the limits of your knowledge. This is beautiful. This is how we grow, but it's also your Achilles heel. Because while you're busy questioning whether you might be wrong, they're absolutely certain they're right. While you're considering nuance, they're repeating slogans. While you're building bridges of understanding, they're burning them and calling it victory. The philosopher Bertrand Russell once said something profound. The fundamental cause of trouble in the modern world is that the stupid are cocksure while the intelligent are full of doubt. You feel that, don't you? You've lived it. Every time you've walked away from an argument thinking, maybe I didn't explain it well enough. Every time you've spent hours crafting the perfect response, only to receive a laughing emoji in return. Every time you've watched someone confidently spout complete nonsense and receive applause. That sinking feeling isn't confusion. It's recognition. You're finally seeing the game for what it is. But here's where it gets deeper. Why does this happen? Why can ignorance be so persuasive? Because human beings aren't designed to process truth. We're designed to process stories, and simple stories beat complex truths every single time in the marketplace of attention. A fool tells you that all your problems are caused by one enemy, one conspiracy, one simple explanation. You tell them that reality is nuanced, interconnected, complex. Their story fits in a sentence. Yours requires paragraphs. Guess which one spreads faster. Guess which one feels better to believe. The Dunning-Kruger effect explains part of this. People with limited knowledge in a domain lack the very expertise needed to recognize their own incompetence. They don't know what they don't know. But you know enough to know how much you don't know. So they walk into arguments with the confidence of someone who's never encountered genuine complexity. And you walk in carrying the weight of everything you've learned, everything you've questioned, everything you're still uncertain about. In a short exchange, confidence looks like competence. Hesitation looks like weakness. The person who sounds certain wins, even if they're certainly wrong. You start to see the trap now, don't you? Every time you engage, you validate the premise that this is a fair exchange of ideas. You elevate nonsense by treating it as if it deserves a thoughtful response. Mark Twain knew this. He said, "Never argue with an idiot. They will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience." They've been operating at that level their entire lives. You're a visitor, they're a native, and in their territory, your intelligence isn't an advantage, it's baggage. But let's go even deeper, because this isn't just about arguments. This is about something more fundamental happening in our world. If you felt this resonance, if this idea has touched something true in your experience, stay with me. Subscribe, because this journey we're on together goes places most people are afraid to look. And you're not most people. Consider what happens in your nervous system during these exchanges. When you encounter information that challenges a fool's worldview, nothing happens to them neurologically. Their brain doesn't light up with cognitive dissonance. It doesn't trigger curiosity or self-reflection, because those neural pathways were never built. But in you, contradiction creates tension. Your mind automatically tries to reconcile conflicting information. You feel uncomfortable when you can't explain something. This is your superpower in most contexts. In arguments with fools, it's your kryptonite. They say something demonstrably false. Your brain immediately starts working. How could they believe that? What information are they missing? What would I need to show them to change their mind? You're assuming good faith. You're assuming they care about being correct. You're assuming that underneath the disagreement you share the same goal, understanding reality. This is where intelligent people lose before they even begin, because you're not arguing with someone who wants to understand. You're arguing with someone who wants to win, and they'll sacrifice every principle, every fact, every logical consistency to do it. Here's the cruel irony. The smarter you are, the more tools you have to doubt yourself. Every argument they make, no matter how absurd, triggers a cascade of self-questioning in your mind. Could I be missing something? Is there a perspective I haven't considered? Am I being arrogant in my certainty? This is the gift of intelligence. But against someone operating in pure bad faith, it paralyzes you. They throw out 10 false claims in one breath. You spend 10 minutes debunking one. By the time you've addressed it thoroughly, they've moved on to 11 new claims. This is called the Gish Gallop, and it's devastatingly effective. You know what else happens? The audience effect. Most arguments don't occur in isolation. There are observers, and observers don't judge based on who's right. They judge based on who seems confident, who makes them feel good, who validates what they already believe. Your careful explanation sounds like intellectualism. Their simple assertion sounds like common sense. You're offering vegetables. They're offering candy. The crowd's preference says nothing about nutrition. Think about the last time you tried to explain something complex to someone determined not to understand. Maybe it was climate science. Maybe it was economics. Maybe it was just trying to explain why a conspiracy theory doesn't hold up under scrutiny. You brought data. They brought feelings. You brought nuance. They brought certainty. You brought an invitation to think. They brought permission not to. Guess who most people chose? The ancient Stoics understood something we've forgotten. You cannot control other people's minds. You can only control your own response. When Marcus Aurelius dealt with fools in the Roman Senate, he didn't try to convince them. He focused on maintaining his own clarity, his own virtue, his own peace. The question isn't, how do I win this argument? The question is, why am I allowing this person to disturb my equilibrium? But there's a secret here that goes even deeper than strategy. Most people never discover this because they're too busy trying to be right. Are you ready for it? The real reason smart people lose arguments against idiots isn't about tactics or logic. It's about attachment. You're attached to being understood. You're attached to others seeing the truth. You're attached to reason prevailing. These attachments make you vulnerable. The fool has no such attachments. They're free, terrible, destructive, wrong, but free. And in the short term, freedom beats precision. What if I told you that every argument you've lost against someone operating in bad faith wasn't a loss at all? What if those moments were teaching you something crucial? Not everyone deserves access to your energy, your time, your pearls of wisdom. There's a reason the ancient teachers spoke in parables and riddles. There's a reason mystery schools had initiation rites, not because truth should be hidden, but because truth requires a prepared mind to receive it. Casting pearls before swine doesn't enlighten the swine, it just wastes the pearls. The Buddha said something remarkable. Believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. But he also said to his disciples, do not give what is holy to dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces. Wisdom knows when to speak and when to remain silent. Intelligence without wisdom is just sophisticated foolishness. Here's the transformation I'm offering you. Stop trying to win arguments with people who have no interest in truth. Your intelligence is a gift. But gifts can be misused. You've been using a surgeon's scalpel to fight someone swinging a sledgehammer. It's not that your tool is inferior, it's that you're in the wrong kind of fight. The scalpel is for healing, for precision, for creation. The sledgehammer is for destruction. When you engage on their terms, you abandon your strength and embrace theirs. So what's the practical path forward? First, recognize that not all disagreements are arguments and not all arguments are worth having. Someone disagrees with you about something factual? That's not an argument. That's an opportunity to decide if this person's opinion matters to your life. Most of the time, it doesn't. Your doctor's opinion about your health matters. Your neighbor's opinion about vaccines doesn't. Your financial advisor's opinion about investments matters. A stranger on the internet's opinion about economics doesn't. Start valuing your energy like the finite resource it is. Second, understand that you can't logic someone out of a position they didn't logic themselves into. If they arrived at their belief through emotion, tribal identity, or simply never questioning what they were told, your facts are irrelevant. You're speaking different languages. This doesn't make you better than them as a human being, but it does mean that this specific exchange is pointless. Save your energy for people capable of intellectual honesty. They exist. They're rare, but they exist. And conversations with them are worth 10,000 arguments with fools. Third, practice what I call strategic disengagement. This doesn't mean running from difficult conversations. It means choosing your battles based on potential for genuine dialogue. Can this person admit when they're wrong? Have they ever changed their mind about something important? Do they ask questions or only make statements? These are your filters. If someone has never demonstrated the capacity for intellectual growth, they won't start because you explained something really well. Here's the revelation that changes everything. Your intelligence isn't meant to convince everyone. It's meant to understand reality so you can navigate it effectively. Some people will join you in that pursuit, most won't, and that's okay. You're not responsible for enlightening humanity. You're responsible for not dimming your own light by exhausting yourself on those who prefer darkness. The poet Rumi wrote, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today, I am wise, so I am changing myself." This is the shift. Stop trying to change minds that are closed. Stop trying to win arguments that were never about truth. Start using your intelligence for what it's actually for, building a life of meaning, surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to grow, creating things that matter, understanding yourself and the world more deeply. When you stop fighting fools, something magical happens. You have energy again. Your mind clears. You remember why you loved learning in the first place. Not to win arguments, not to prove you're smart, but because reality is endlessly fascinating, and understanding it brings genuine joy. That's the victory no fool can take from you. So here's my final message to you. You are not losing. You never were. You were just playing a game you were never meant to play. Smart people don't lose arguments against idiots. Smart people waste their time having arguments with idiots. Stop wasting time. The world needs what you have to offer, but it needs you focused, energized, and engaged with people and problems worthy of your gifts. If this resonated with you, if you felt seen in these words, do two things. First, subscribe to this channel, because we're going to keep exploring the truths that most people are too comfortable to examine. And second, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been exhausting themselves trying to convince the unconvincible. Tell them they're not alone. Tell them their intelligence is not a curse. Tell them it's time to stop fighting and start building. The argument is over. You already won. Now walk away and do something that actually matters.